that's what made this event so renowned. I mean, you have personalities on site. Probably the largest swap meet maybe across the country. I don't see many swap meets hosted at all, and this one was spectacular. This man could go trade. I could play 3 games, not see Shirley all day, and be like, man, he must be playing on the field. I mean, we're talking 30 acres. I could lose my friend real easily. And this is before talkies, and you were really worried about your comm setup. I mean, you're playing to have fun. It wasn't that serious. I'd find him up in the parking lot like 3 hours later. He's like, dude, check this out. I got a photo somewhere. That Mosin.
The Mosin. I forget what I traded for that. That may have been the year I had an ENL AK. And I took it there, and really nice AK, but I just didn't like it. I really wanted to get rid of it. And I remember like halfway through the day, I had no hits on it. So I was kind of getting desperate. I didn't want to leave without something. So I went around and started trading, and somehow, I don't remember how, I ended up with I think it was a CO2 Mosin Nagant with bayonet. And he said, there's a picture someone was trying to dig up. It's 7, almost 8 feet tall with bayonet. I mean, it's taller than I am.
It's taller than he is in the photo. That's what makes it so
It's gargantuan. And I mean, that for me was like one of the biggest things was the swap meet. I always loved the swap meet. You could always wheel, deal, and find the craziest stuff there.
He'd have owned 3 guns or 3 vests by the time I ever saw him. He'd be like, dude, I own this. I'm like, where's it at? He'd be like, I already traded it again. I'm like,
gone.
I've just missed all of it. You know, I had my own experience on the field, but there was a whole other show and event going on in the parking lot. I mean, there's just no other place you could go at that time where you could get that many celebrities in one spot, that big of a swap meet, multiple food vendors, all the vendor row from SHOT Show. I mean, companies just didn't travel like that. And that's what made this event so great. And being in a metropolitan area, being after the postseason when, you know, fields were staying closed in the winter. It was time, it was good weather, let's get going again, and everyone did. And you really felt that sense of community too, because stores closed.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Nashville closed for a long time, would show up to that event. I mean, there were quite a few guys that did that.
Yeah, this is before, I mean, this goes well beyond Nashville having an indoor field. This goes well beyond ACS Airsoft even having the thought of conception. I mean, this is predating all this, but all the surrounding fields closed. There was Extreme Airsoft in Tennessee. There was Springfield Airsoft. I don't know when CarCon started.
But they showed up quite a bit earlier.
Right, and so all of these fields would also be there for exposure. And I remember Springfield doing free water and free air.
That's one of the first times we met him was getting water from them.
Yeah, and so it was a big just community conglomerate and service, and it was one opportunity for everyone to come together and just enjoy the hobby. You know, it wasn't competition. It wasn't, you know, that field, this field. It was just, we want to go have fun, and we're all going to do it, and it's going to happen the 3rd weekend of March every single year. And if you didn't book it on your calendar, it was your fault. You know, the event didn't change. The date didn't change. The rules, you know, sort of changed. They were usually pretty lax in that regard, but you knew what you were getting into. And the gameplay showed for sure.
Pretty much never ended, really. I mean, they did rounds, but their games really never stopped.
So if you've not played at Bad Karma, their games were like 45 minutes long, sometimes an hour.
I'd say sometimes an hour from what I recall.
And it, you know, you would occasionally swap sides, but you didn't walk out there for 15 minutes and do a mad dash, you know, and then come up and eat lunch and go do another mad dash. It was, when you go out there, you better have your BBs, your pyro, everything you need to sustain yourself for 45 minutes. And that 45 minutes was quick. You never felt like you wanted to quit playing. And there's a game mode, for those that have been will remember Switzerland. It was mad chaos. And the best way to refer it to is very similar to our Breach game mode, where you're in a confined area, confined being relative. I mean, that portion of the field is probably 4 or 5 acres, but when you put 1,400 people on that small piece of land, oh my gosh. I mean, I remember
we were fighting over one town.
Yeah, and we'll find a clip. There's this hard charge clip of Isaiah, and he's like running across, and it really tells you like how lost you can get in the moment. Because I remember spotting him running across the town. I'm like, there he is! Like, that's my pal. And so, you know, I'm trying to close the gap and get up there with him. There's just no chance. I immediately die, fall dead. But it is just so many BBs, so many smoke, and it was essentially Breach, but with a bomb in the center. You could respawn, but it was just very tight, compact. Full autos allowed. You know, it was come one, come all.
and you would hear it ripping.
And
Full Auto was fully embraced.
And their motto was "Come get you some."
Yeah.
I mean, they wasn't holding your hand about nothing. It was.
And that was not just a motto; they lived by.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And so it was a blast. You know, from start to finish. It ended, the day's over, and you're counting the days until it comes around the following year, and you just could not get enough of this event. And there's so many memories that comes along. You know, I see things pop up on Time Hop on Facebook, and then I'm like, wow. You know, it's been that long ago, but it still sits with me so strongly, and it's still one of our big draws and reasonings for, you know, that was our starting point.
Yeah, that's how we all got into airsoft, and that's really what made us continue with it. Yeah, if we would have kept on playing in the backyard, ACS may have never came to fruition if we didn't actually travel and get exposed to more outside of just our 10 friends.
Mm-hmm. And being the name of it being Noob Day, one of the greatest innovations I thought I ever saw at this were the Dixie Cup grenades.
Oh, those guys were in that little wood shack. You came into this entrance, they had bend a row, but on the corner, they had the corner, and then right in front of that, you had an entrance. And this is a little rickety shack, and these two guys, and they always looked young. Mm-hmm. I mean, they weren't adults. And they made
They've been volunteers.
Yeah, I think they were volunteers. And they took 2 Dixie cups, filled them with BBs, put like a firecracker in the middle, and then put another Dixie cup over it and just taped them. And they sold them for what, 50 cents?
Yeah, it was silly.
Something silly like that. And those were there.
Compete with that and Nola Gay.
Yeah, give you some of that.
Tagging, you know, where y'all at?
Right, there's your innovators.
Oh, man. But they allowed open flames. I remember one year I brought firecrackers.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is going to be my grenade. You know, I don't need no Dixie cup. I'll throw this at you. So I sat it there and I fused it up and I got ready to light it. Lo and behold, I started a field fire. You know, and I'm 10, 11 years old thinking I'm G.I. Joe. This is going to be sick. So I throw firecrackers over there and the admin comes over there and stomps it out. And he's like, who's throwing bottle rockets? Who's throwing firecrackers? And very quickly thereafter, it was no fireworks. You know, you could bring fused and flame grenades, but no fireworks. And I definitely played a role into that. But
and this was before like the pyro we had now. I mean, you really had no options. So it was really
Nola Gay wasn't around.
No.
Nola Gay is probably 6, 7 years old now. I mean, you know, this event's 16 years old. Bad Karma started in the early 90s. They were a paintball field, and so they've seen it all from then on. You know, they transitioned out of the 90s into airsoft when it was cheaper, more affordable, more realistic. And they really grasped hard on that concept and continued it forward. I think what made Bad Karma so enjoyable too was it was just nonprofit. I mean, it was pure community. Just come hang out. It was $10 to play, $5 to park. There was no store on site. There was no tech on site. You had to come prepared or hope the vendors there could supply you. I do remember one year you showed up without a gun. You did not even have a gun one year, and you had to buy a gun there.
That is when I bought, and looking back on it, it was an Elite Force. So this was like early Elite Force. So I remember that gun. Remember, it was in a green box that it was that Tangan I painted down the road. And yeah, he's right. I showed up with nothing. I just had, my mom had given me like, I think $200. That's all I had to my name for this event, travel and all. And I immediately hit up one of the booths, and I just bought, I'm pretty sure I bought an Elite Force M4. Couldn't tell you the model, anything about it, and that was like my first real airsoft purchase was at NOOBDAY.
Yeah.
And just because I literally showed up with nothing, I think all my stuff had broke or wasn't ready for the event, and just showed up and made it work. And then bummed off of these guys for batteries and ammo and magazines for the day. Exactly, being a noob, being a true noob. There used to be a photo of me somewhere where I had a flight suit that was given to me by someone. Mm-hmm. I didn't have money for boots. I was wearing cowboy boots with no tread. And anyone that's been to NOOBDAY knows that entrance going down is a death trap. So wearing cowboy boots with no support, no tread, I don't know what the hell I was thinking back then. I don't. But as a kid, we didn't care. The chaos and how hectic that event was what we went for. And it's really what lit the flame in us. And like you were saying, Bad Karma was always for the community, always. We even went and played just down there on their open play days after the event, but they were always just about the community. They were never in it for the money. And every year, the other thing that we always look forward to, January, February were their build months. So they would always do some kind of new build, and that was always exciting. Like, whoa, look, they added an entire church. I can't wait to play that.
Smurf Mountain,
which will always be ingrained in us.
Smurf Mountain was this blue barrel just fort. I mean, it was barrel stacked 6'7" tall, and in the middle were these really thin, narrow ramps that led you to a platform on top. But you could only get there from like 3 different angles, and these ramps are probably no wider than 2 feet, you know, and you're kind of putting one foot in the other trying to get up there. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna run up these stairs or run up this ramp. I mean, you kind of had to navigate yourself to get there, and they would fight around it, and the way it came down, you know, it was like very pyramid style, and these barrels just formed out, and so fighting over Smurf Mountain, you know, artificial mountain, of course, it was a blast, you know. It's just like that was your objective. Some game modes, and like just gonna push this random horse. Oh yeah, it had no real strong support around it. It was its own fort, its own identity.
And there it was, blue barrels galore, and you just knew Smurf Mountain. Like he said, that was actually.
Couldn't miss it. I mean, the name said it. If you had to ask where is Smurf Mountain, we have much bigger issues on the field that day. Because when you come down that hill, it's right there on your left, and you just you could not misidentify it. And that hill, like you said, was very. That hill was misleading. Okay, so CartCon, I've heard, has one hell of a hill to fight up. Yeah. I can't speak to the hill at CartCon, but at Bad Karma, when you're at the top of the hill, you're looking down. You're like, this ain't gonna be much. Like, this ain't much of a hill. It's just gravel. You know, it's got a little slope. Sure, we're gonna walk down it. But when that hour game mode let up, and you've been running with your kid the whole time, and it's time to go eat, and you're just like, I gotta get up there and get some water. I gotta get up there and reload for the next game. You start marching and marching and marching. And you turn around and you're like, how am I not to the top already?
Yeah, you just sit there and be like, oh my God.
And the water would wash it out depending on season.
It's like really loose, like
very
shell
loose,
rock.
just and people are tripping, falling.
Yeah,
I mean,
every year someone tripped and fell off, at least once. I mean, no way with more than one.
It was a long
and it
way
was
to the top.
You were never alone. Yeah, you were never alone. It was you and the other hundreds of guys trying to get up and off that field. Mm-hmm. But that was, like he said, it looked deceiving, and that was a haul.
It was something to
It had to be for every game, or anytime you had to walk off, you had to come up that hill. There was no other way back to the parking lot.
And then at the end of this event, so really to just kind of put the bow on top, to wrap it all up and send you home, get you ready for the season. Now your mind's thinking, okay, what do I need to be more prepared? How can I upgrade my gear so I'm more competitive? You know, all these things are sitting there. At the end, there's just this massive raffle. I mean, I've really never seen a better raffle.
No, I can't think of one. I mean,
not that I've witnessed personally.
They had so many items. I mean, they just had bulk.
I mean, if vendors weren't there, they sent stuff. I remember Evite, you know, they sponsor pretty well at most events across the country, but they sent 12 guns one year. 12 guns.
From one company.
I remember seeing the Halo gun, and Matrix, and I mean, just so many guns there. And then you put that with Lancer, G&G, Elite Force, Echo One, ASG, Polar Star, Wolverine. By the time you got all these names out across the table, they had 10 or 12 fold-out tables, and it was roped off, and you could walk all the way down that line and just see every single item they had to raffle. Everyone got a raffle ticket at the beginning of the event. You could buy as many tickets as you wanted, and all of that benefited a charity. It was always typically a local charity there. Sometimes the benefactor would be there on site to accept donation. There was a few years they would pick local families, you know, people that were players of the community that needed help through, you know, certain surgeries or fighting cancer. You know, it was always very noble and just very heartfelt, and you wanted to support those people that love the community that you love so much. And so you knew it was all to just do a great cause. Relay for Life was a good one year. And then so for this year, we're going to do the National Foundation of Suicide Prevention. That really sits home with, I've had lost friends and family, and so that's pretty near and dear to myself. I know it is to a lot of other folks out there, and so that's what our charity is going to be. Man, this event though, NOOBDAY's wrapping up to be
It is looking, yeah, I think we're going to do it justice this time around. I mean, it hasn't been hosted in, what, 2 years now officially?
Right, it's been down for 2 years.
Yeah.
I know the last one was very shaky in 19 only because of COVID, obvious. You know, that event would have been threefold had COVID not hit just weeks prior to the event. But those that went, I still heard really great things. It seemed like a great event. But it's time for us to bring it up to life. And in doing so and in bringing it to our field, we're kind of taking it back to its roots. You know, it's grassroots, where it come from. We're putting the Noob back in NOOBDAY. but it's going to be awesome. We're going to have several sponsors. We've already got E-Bike, Elite Force, Gunjack Armory, who is a long-time tech from Bad Karma, for those that remember, and his uncle is bringing the food trailer, which again was at Noob Day, and so we already have several people that were at that event, remember what it was like, and they're supportive of our new taking on this project as well. Elite Force is sending him stuff. X-Fog, Titan Power,
G&G will be on site.
G&G will be on site with us. Amped Airsoft will be on site with us vending. So it's going to be great. We're going to have some vendors. We're going to have showcase people from SHOT Shows such as G&G. We're going to have a huge swap meet. So if you all have things you want to bring out to the table,
this is the event.
It is it. Buy, sell, and trade. That's the name of the game.
Bring it out, set up, make your little shops out here, set up your table at the back of your trucks. That's exactly how it was done at Noob Day. And I said, don't feel, like he was saying, you didn't have to play all day. Half the fun was also just hanging out in the parking lot, walking and talking and looking.
Seeing what, Amp's going to bring products we may not necessarily sell. G&G's going to show things that are upcoming, new releases. They'll probably have the new high cappers that they're coming out with available there. And so we're hoping to get some other sponsors on board. We're talking to a lot of people that hope to make the trip up for the first year of Noob Day being hosted at ACS Airsoft. This is not ACS Airsoft's event. We do not own Noob Day. This is something we plan to, continue as a standalone event. So it may not always be held here, but we do hope to just continue to carry that torch forward and make sure Noob Day never dies, because there's still a noob in me, that's for sure. And I cannot wait to just see the crazy costumes everyone brings. I mean, Ball Boy, for those that don't remember, Brandon Carlisle used to wear a basketball helmet on his head. That dude's my hero, and he still plays with us from time to time, and he's a great guy to have around. And there was T-Rex, who did the mad charge up the street in the inflatable suit. And there's just so many players looking back on it. There was the Kegerator tank.
Yes, this guy had an entire keg that he had tapped to run air off of, and he ran a keg strapped to his back and ran around playing with it all day. That I think was one of the Gun Devils.
Yeah,
that was
one of
the team, one of the
had like a pink G&G gun.
The pink combat machine with a drum mag.
Oh yeah,
never gonna forget that man or that gun.
He was living. Come get you some.
Yes,
he didn't want to.
Yes.
You heard that thing cranked up to 60 rounds a second.
Terrifying.
You're like,
you'd avoid it.
Avoiding that sector.
You'd be, let's go right. Let's get away from him. So I think it's going to be a killer event. It's shaping up to be a really big event as well already. We have people all the way from Gatlinburg so far that we've heard they're going to be attending.
20 from Gatlinburg. There's 5 or 6 from Chattanooga. There's some guys from Kansas City area looking to come over. So there's a group from Arkansas that said they might be bringing 15 or 20. There's teams from all over. I would expect teams from Atlanta, Indiana, Paducah, PBZ guys. I mean, there's going to be a lot of great names, a lot of great characters here. Come hang out, sit around, play around. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait to see you there at Noob Day 2022.